Good afternoon. You're here with me in my office in Basel. During these strange times, we have plenty of time to look and put some order in old papers and in the library. I took the opportunity to go through old boxes of my father, unpacked for the last 30, 40 years in the library, and it's a great opportunity to pick up some great discoveries I made, but also to reissue and rediscuss the subject of lost provenances. Now, first of all, I want to show you what I discovered. I found a map, Vestigie di Roma Antica, from the early 19th century, from 1839, which is of course extremely exciting. Imagine the Grand Tour, French, German or English gentlemen walking through Rome with this as a map and probably getting lost in the macchia, in the ruins, because of course Rome then was a tiny, beautiful city, with ancient Rome being much larger, and all these ruins being spread all over through a very idyllic wilderness. And of course you have also here the remains of the famous Roman map of Rome. So it's a brilliant plan, and you could probably somehow still survive with it in Rome nowadays. You might end up with quite a lot of surprises though. This was one thing, stashed away in a lovely, lovely box, which I will now not display. Then, of course, I stumbled across, I knew I had it, but I took now the time to look here in a map, stashed away in the old famous journal of Cahn, beautifully done, but here it was stashed away, a group of drawings. And this is really fascinating, and I want to find out more about it, because these drawings, they had some notes by a collaborator of my father, but then when I started to look at those drawings, I couldn't believe my eyes. Look at the incredible draftsmanship of these drawings, precisely taken from Apulian vases of the 4th century BC. And some have comments in English, by the way, and I suspect that these drawings are related to the publications by Tischbein. By the way, they're really original drawings. They are not prints. And the comments are done in English, so some very talented English draftsmen took them either directly from the vases or I assume out of Tischbein, but the mastery of the drawings is extraordinary. We're going to put some research to find out who did these drawings, I believe after Tischbein. So these are the discoveries you do in these times where suddenly you have time to look up what you've got. But also these are times of reflection. So when I took up in the library Caylus, the French publications on antiquity, published, by the way, here we are with Caylus in 1761, par le privilège du roi in France, you see that Caylus published quite precisely Roman bronzes he would find. These are pieces, we don't know where they are anymore, and sometimes we discover and we are able to identify these pieces with these old publications. But sometimes also the drawings are not precise enough. They're too typed. So these are cases, all these bronzes must exist somewhere. Here is a sistrum, for example, but where are they? So the connection between Caylus, who drew them at the time, or took them out of other representations, and the piece itself is lost. And that's what we call nowadays, among the trade, orphans. They have an old history, but the connection is lost with the past historically. And then we have here, I of course went to see, because I'm a proud owner of Bernard de Montfaucon, published in about the same time, 1722, slightly earlier, and he also published for the King of France an enormous compendium of what was known at least in France at the time. And here, he would not have a hierarchy. He would also make beautiful representation of simple Roman glasses. A glass like that nowadays would be worth £100 or 150 euros, something like that. But at that time, it was considered as important as architecture and so on. But to reconnect these pieces here with the broken neck, with nowadays pieces becomes very, very difficult. Here, for example, it's more easy because we have an inscription. But where is the piece? It may be in a museum, storage, unvisitable, unknown somehow, apart from some specialists, or it may be in a private collection, may be unknown that it's already published in the 18th century, early 18th century. So this is what we call orphans. Here you have balsamaria, because he was fascinated by these balsamaria in bronze. So what it means is, when you have a piece which comes from an old context, you don't know sometimes. So not every piece which has obviously an old collection patina, or which could come from an old collection, is reconnected to the collections. And that does not make a piece problematic. So we have, in my field, a great challenge to be able to reconnect, which is sometimes simply impossible, though we understand that the piece must have an old history. Because these pieces, especially in the 19th century and 18th century, were often considered decorative nice works of art on shelves, on walls, and described in the most superficial way. Even sometimes we do have extraordinary pieces like this one. This I bought in a small sale. It's a Pompeian wall painting of the finest quality. It had no history. The only reminiscence of its very old history was this box, which miraculously survived with the piece as it has been done, you see, for this box. It's a quite scruffy box. Many people would throw it away, not anymore perhaps today, but they would have discarded the box, which is a hint that in fact this is a late 18th century provenance, lost now forever. Or in another case, here, lovely little box. You could find these things in a flea market or in an antique shop. It's charming, but this box has been made specifically for a cursory tablet in Etruscan. But very often this would be taken away, even separated from its bronze box, and this would be discarded or end up empty somewhere. Only the connection with this makes it certain that we have at least an early 19th century, if not 18th century provenance. And this is so important that we keep these records. That means a lot of pieces have old provenances lost forever, and if an antiquity is on offer, we have to reconstruct the recent past, let's say for the last 20-30 years if we are able, but sometimes even that proves difficult, because it could have been in an attic of a manor house and the estate is being sold and the piece reappears and nobody was really aware of it in the 1960s or 1950s. So this is a multiple challenge for us antiquities dealers, and I can assure you we are trying the best we can do. Thank you very much.